Hello again. Last time we were looking at some basic beginner jazz chords, or chords that are used in jazz standards, and we were mainly concentrating on the key of G. And just as a quick review, if you haven't seen part one of this little series, check out part one, because it'll give you a good foundation for this one. We were looking at things like G major 7, how you can change one note and make that into a G7 or G dominant 7, how you can lower that third string, then come to a G minor 7, you can lower the fourth string and come to a G minor 6. We also looked at a chord with a root on the fifth string, and we had, starting again on a major 7, C major 7, lowering that third string to C7 or C dominant 7, lowering the second string from E to E flat for a C minor 7, lowering the fourth string from G to F sharp for a C minor 7 flat 5, also known as C half diminished. I thought we'd stay in the key of D and learn a few more chords. So if we look at just the basic G major scale, so, you know, if you think of the piano, it's all white notes. It's all natural notes, G, A, B, C, D, E. The only exception is the F sharp. So if we look at forming a chord on the fifth note of the G major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? So we have the D is the fifth note in our G major scale. We're in the key of G major. So we're going to grab that D, and we're also going to grab the natural major 7th, which is the F sharp, and we're going to grab this note from the third string out of the G major scale, which is C. And that's going to give us C on top on the third string. It's going to give us F sharp on the fourth string, fourth fret, and it's going to give us the D on the fifth string, fifth fret. That right there is a D7. Just those three notes can suffice as a D7. If I play the individual notes that make up a D7 chord, it's going to be D, F sharp, A, and C, D, F sharp, A, C. Out of those four notes, the A is the least essential. It's the fifth of the chord, root third, fifth, seventh. So just for now, we're going to dispense with the A, and we'll probably come back to it later. So again, our starting shape here this time is going to be third string, fifth fret, fourth string, fourth fret, fifth string, fifth fret. And I'll just give you a look at the grid for that. We're going to be doing some different things. But if you look at the second grid here, okay, this is a D7, D dominant 7. It's the kind of the most powerful chord in the key of G. And it's powerful in the sense that when you play it, it wants to resolve to something. So this is our D7. Don't worry too much about the stuff over here. We're going to get to that in a minute. But yeah, the D7 shape. Don't pay too much attention to that little green, the little pink circle there. I'm going to deal with that in a moment too. But yeah, let's start with D7, see what we can do with it. So D7 is the 5 chord in the key of G major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Build the chord on that. Note D, and you have the D7. Now, we can add the D that's an octave higher on the second string, third fret. Now, it's going to look different, but I'm basically just keeping that little triangle shape, but I'm using different fingers. This is a D7, a 4-string version, and what we're doing is we're playing another D on the second string as well as the D root on the fifth string. So this is D7. Okay? Now, this is our root of the chord. This is the D. So if we move it up one, it's going to be the second, or in this case, let's just think of it as the 9th. So you know the way music works is the root is the 1, the second note in the scale is the 2. Well, if you're working an octave higher, the root is the 8, and the second note going up is the 9. So we have D7. You know, I've got the D on the second string, third fret. I've got the C on the third string, fifth fret, the F sharp on the fourth string, and I've got the D, of course, on the bottom. I'm going to move that D on the second string up to E. Everything else is really staying the same. This is a D9. Just goes to show there's a little fallacy when you think of things as jazz chords, because this is all over funk and, you know, R&B, and even rock music, Led Zeppelin, you know, they had a couple of tracks where they did a lot of ninths. Jimmy Nolan with James Brown was all about ninths. So this is a D9. Still that same little triangle. By the way, reminder, the triangle consists of the root, the third, and the seventh, or the flat seventh, which forms a D7. Now, when we bar the second and third strings at the 5th fret, gives us the D9. Okay, if we keep that basic triangle on strings 5, 4, and 3, but we put the pinky on the second string, this is the D7 sharp 9. If you did it 2 frets higher in the key, you know, with E7 sharp 9. Very common chord even in rock, but we're working in D. So let's stay down with D7 sharp 9. Taxman by the Beatles, of course, like Purple Haze, Foxy Lady, Jimi Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan. I forget the name of the Zeppelin tune, but on Houses of the Holy, I think they had one that was all about. Okay, so we've got this, which is just D7. We've got D9. We've got D7 sharp 9. Now, if we take that second string, and by barring with the index finger, we're going to bring that second string note, which is F, down to E flat. That's a D7 flat 9, a really nice chord. So we're going to bar strings 2, 3, and 4 at the 4th fret. We're going to put the ring finger on the C on the 5th string, 5th fret, and we're going to have the middle finger on D, that same D note on the bottom on the 5th string. Okay? Now you can hear all these chords want to go somewhere. Like you probably would not just end the song on, you know, and end there. I mean, you could for effect, but normally a song wouldn't end there because it's kind of wanting to go there. You know, landing on G, resolving on G, being that we're in the key of G. We've got D7, we've got D9, D7, sharp 9. Now bar with that index, remove the pinky from the second string, and let's hear that second string E flat. It's D7 with a flat 9. Okay, let's go back to D9 for a moment. Okay, we did it before. It's the little triangle. And I'm barring to catch the second string, that E on the 5th fret. Now, this is a weird chord. This is a D9 with a sharp 5. How do I know that? Well, if I think of how the note A, 1st string, 5th fret, relates to D, the A is what's called a 5th above D, because if I start on D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know I'm in the key of G, so I know what notes to play based on my G major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. D to A is a 5th. Okay, so when we take D9, we could, you know, when you do the 9, by the way, you could also just bar through to the 1st string, and you get that extra note in there, that A. But what we're doing right now is we're playing the D9 and we're sharping the 5th. So what I'm doing here is I'm just pressing the 1st string with my pinky, which gives me a D9 with a sharp 5th, sharp A. However, if I want to make it slightly more exotic, I can bar with the pinky on strings 2 and 1, keep my shape on the bottom. This would be a D7 with a sharp 5 and a sharp 9. It's that basic D7 triangle. I'm hitting in the sharp 9, and I'm using the bar to play the sharp 5 as well. Okay, this is a really cool chord coming up. Let's think in terms of the D9 again. You know, I usually don't play it that way. I'm just trying to show you what the notes are. I usually just bar strings 2 and 3. I've got the index on the 4th string. I've got the D on the bottom. Okay, probably the second most disposable note in chords, as far as I know, is the root. Because a lot of times if you're in a band, the bass player's playing the root, or you know, if you're in a trio, the bass player might be playing the root. Even if nobody's playing it, it's kind of okay anyway. So let's get rid of that 5th string, 5th fret D. and that's going to free us up. So we're going to keep the rest of the D9. We're not going to bar anymore because we need to move on to something else. We're going to cover 2nd string 5th fret, 3rd string 5th fret, 4th string 4th fret, and now we're going to add in this, which is called the sharp 11. So it's a G sharp. Okay? Cool chord. This one I think kind of is somewhat unique to jazz tunes, as far as I know. But yeah, it's this. Now, sometimes if the arthritis is not acting up too much, I can kind of grab that D on the 5th string 5th fret, but it's not really worth it anyway. It's kind of crazy. So just know that the root is there. Okay? And this is a D9 because it's that 9 again, right? With the E on the 2nd string. Getting rid of the root, but we're adding in the G sharp. It's a D9, sharp 11. Sharp 11 is the same as a sharp 4. And I never fully understood this, but I guess because it's in the higher octave, you refer to it as a sharp 4, just as before we were referring to it as a 9 instead of a 2. I mean, I can't really give a very good explanation about it. But this is a cool chord that comes out of that same triangle, which is D9 sharp 11. Okay, so let's think of what will happen now if we take that same beginning shape that we had a few moments ago, which is a D7. Okay, let's just look at what would happen if we take the 3rd string and lower it down to the 4th fret. So now I'm barring at the 4th fret, strings 3 and 4, and I'm using the middle finger for the D on 5th string 5th fret. Okay, so let's look at what it is. This is a D, still is. This is an F sharp, and this is B. So when you play D, F sharp, and B, that's a D6. Why is it a D6? Well, we've got our root, D, we've got our 3rd, the F sharp, but if we count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's the B. The B is the 6th above D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got, again, barring the middle 2 strings, and we've got that on the 5th string. So one thing right off the bat that we can do is we're going to keep that shape, use a different fingering, because we want to free up the index finger to play the D 2nd string 3rd fret. Okay? This D, B, F sharp, and D on the bottom is a D6. Sometimes it's referred to as a D major 6, but really just D6. You know, down here it would be C6. Okay? So up here it's D6. Let me give you a quick look at that, just to try to make things as plain as possible. It's the 3rd one down here, the D6th. Okay, again, don't worry too much about that little pink circle. For now, it's going to be our 9th coming up. But for now, you know, these are the strings going across. We've got our frets, and we're at the 5th fret here, and this is our D6 3-note chord. Okay. All right, so we know if we had an extra D on the 2nd string, we've got that nice D6. How about if we keep this basic formation on the bottom strings, go back to our bar for the middle 2 strings at the 4th fret, get that D back on there, and now use the ring finger to play the E. This is a nice chord, a really nice chord. It's a D6-9. You got your bar here, and you've got the D on the bottom. Again, 6-9 because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've got the root, the 3rd, the 6th of the chord, and the 9 of the chord. Okay, D6-9, definitely a jazz chord. Or again, you could just opt for the regular D6 without the 9. Sometimes it depends on the melody, it depends on your own taste, your own discretion, what you want to use. Okay, so if we just stay on the theme of having a D as our root, let's look at what will happen if we take that D7 shape that we started out with and just lower the 4th string. So So now we've actually moved out of the key of G major. And the way you know that is because my original chord, D7, has the C on the third string. It has the F sharp on the fourth string with the D. That F sharp is the signifier. It's the really different thing about the key of G major. So as soon as I put that F sharp down to F, third fret, we've now moved into a different key. I'm going to think of it as the key of C for now because the key of C has an F in it. So when I play my D, my F, and my C, this triangle shape, which is also here on the bottom, okay, that's a D minor. It's a D minor 7 actually. But we can do a few things with it. Okay, so this is just a bare bones root, third, and seventh. One thing we can do is add another F, which is our third, on the second string. Make it a little fatter. Okay, or we could do it this way. Keep the same shape on those bottom strings, but now we're going to bar with the index in order to get our second string, third fret D. So this is D minor 7. This is also D minor 7. Sometimes this is a question of whether you want to have F on the top as the top of the chord or if you want to have D as the top of the chord. And that's a really important consideration when you're trying to do chord melody arrangements or solo guitar versions of tunes where you're playing the melody at the same time that you're playing the chords. Okay, so we've got a D minor 7 here, the F on top on the second string. We've got our, with the bar, D minor 7 with the D as the top note on the second string, third fret. This is a really cool chord that I love. I'm going to split the difference. Instead of the F or the D, we're going to play the E on the fifth fret. So again, we have E, C on the third string, we've got the F natural on the fourth string, and we've got the D root, of course, on the bottom. That's a really nice chord. Again, pretty much a jazzy chord that's in a lot of standards. Let's see. Okay. So one thing that just occurred to me here, this is a D minor 9. It always makes me think of the key of C. It would basically be a version of the 2 chord in the key of C major. Last time we were looking at various G chords, like major 7, like dominant 7. And then we said we could sharp the 5 here on this G7 by doing this, making sure our pinky plays the 4th string, 4th fret. So just while we're on the topic of D minor 9, we could do D minor 9. Let me try that again. G7 sharp 5, and then a chord we're going to get to in a moment. Which is a C major 9. Okay, so we started out with D7. We realized we could keep that shape and add a D on the second string, still a D7. Then we realized we could add the E, keeping that same basic shape on the bottom strings. This is a D9. This actually is a D7 sharp 9, a D7 flat 9. This is the D9 with that sharp 5 on the A sharp on the first string. The other variation of it would be to do the basic triangle and then bar the first 2 strings at the 6th fret. That would be a D7 sharp 5 sharp 9. And then of course we had the nice and unusual kind of suspended sound of D9 sharp 11. Okay, so let's just take that shape of D7 and say, what would happen if we went to the 3rd string and raised it up? Well, we're in a different key now, for one thing. We can think of ourselves now as being in the key of D. How do I know that? Because the C sharp, the note I just went to, as the top note in the chord, is not in the key of G, it's not in the key of C. It is, however, the seventh note in the key of D major. So we've got this. The only thing that's different from our earlier chord is that I moved up the third string from C to C sharp. This is a D major 7. Now one thing you can do is you can substitute this chord, or this finger rather, keep the same shape, put the pinky on the second string. That's probably not that great a voicing, so let's not belabor that. But if we go back to our D major 7, we're going to keep that same shape on the bottom, but we're going to add the E, which is a really nice sound. So we've got D major 9. Okay. Okay, one last thing to look at. We'll wrap it up. If I go back to D, I've got my root D, I've got my third, F sharp. Now I'm going to use the index on string 3 to play the A, second fret. This is a basic D major triad, not used too much in jazz tunes and standards. But if I raise my A with my index finger on the third string, that's A sharp. If I raise it up again, another fret, let me try this again, talking too much. Okay, so what that is, we're playing D, F sharp, and A, which is a D major triad. Now we're sharping the A, so we have D, F sharp, and A sharp. It's a D augmented. Now we're going to raise up that A sharp to B natural. That's our D6. Now we're going to raise the same third string up again, another fret, and that's going to be our D7. So back in prehistoric times, when I was probably a little kid, they had a song. Dave Clark 5, I think it was called Because, and that's all I know of it. I never played the song, but it's got the C major, C augmented, C6, and C dominant 7. So these are good to know. If I move it back up to where we've been, which is in the area of D, well, this is that same C major shape, the cowboy chord, but I'm moving it up to D. And I'm going to not worry about the second string, so I'm just playing D major, D augmented with that sharp 5th, D6, and D7, and that'll lead us to the one chord, which is G. So let me know if you have any questions, any suggestions. Let me know if it's helpful to you. Again, if you haven't seen part 1, I highly recommend going to check it out because I kind of laid the groundwork there, working on a bunch of different G chords. And for this one, we kind of built on it, stayed in the key of G for the most part, and worked on dominance. So thanks so much for watching. Throw me a like if you enjoy this kind of thing, if you find it useful. Subscribe if you haven't. And otherwise, keep playing, have fun, and I'll see you next time. Take care.